Hey, welcome to episode 118 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris DT Gordon. As always, I am so blessed to have you here with us today and with me, and not here physically, but technologically, are Nate and Britton Barron helping us with our tech issue, not issues. They take away the issues. They're tech relievers, I guess we'll say, tech issue relievers. And so please give them your love at Nate Barron. As always, folks, I implore you to think of me if you know of someone who might need a little gratitude adjustment, an increase in gratitude, positivity, resilience. If you work with students or you work in a team where you find that people are struggling to stay positive amidst challenges, please think of me. Go to chrisdtgordon.com and we can start a conversation where I can share the attitude of gratitude with those whom you serve and work with. Well, today I am very blessed to have with me my new friend, Jodie Lin. Jodie, how are you today?
I am great. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Fortunately, we didn't have a giant storm come through where we're at. You did, but I'm glad they didn't knock out your power. Where are you calling us from?
So I'm calling in from Northern Virginia, just outside of DC. For those who are familiar with the area, I'm literally 5 minutes away from Dulles Airport.
Okay. All right. So if we hear a plane fly overhead, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what we got going on right now, actually. And helicopters, often from the White House, come flying overhead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, something that we both have in common, Jodie, is that we are the recipients of extensive reconstructive surgery, but those causes are very different. People know my story, but I know they want to hear yours. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that would be great.
Absolutely. And first, let me say, I love what you do about helping people with gratitude adjustments. As a health and wellness coach, I'm often working with members who definitely need some positive reminders, and gratitude is one of the things that we always ask them to consider journaling about or talking with their family to help them really switch their mindset. And it's been really helpful for a lot of people. So love what you do. Thank you for doing that for others.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that feedback. I just know that personally, when I was in the hospital, that was the switch that turned everything around. When I was at my lowest point, I had no idea what was going to happen. You know, the angel who is my wife helped me see things differently. And as you said, that gratitude really turned things around and it helped me become who I am today. And so I appreciate the praise and the acknowledgement.
That is powerful. And I have to say, I had some of my own moments of gratitude searching, starting with my story as a 2-time breast cancer survivor. My first time I actually was diagnosed when my 5th child was 4 months old. And in fact, we were probably in the process of getting the diagnosis while I was pregnant with him, but they kept putting it off despite certain factors that were popping up during the pregnancy. They kept choosing to wait until post-pregnancy to follow up with another mammogram on me. And that's when they determined that I actually was in the very early stages of breast cancer. So I'm both grateful for my son, because I feel that had they looked into a little bit earlier, they might have missed it because it was such early stages. So enough time had gone by between my first mammogram to the second one, where they were able to detect that I had DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma in situ, which is basically very early stages of breast cancer. So I got lucky, and I was super grateful that I had my son, that I had my 4 other girls, and the timing of his arrival helped with a very early diagnosis instead of one that would have been much further down the road, which unfortunately did come again the second time. So the first time I was diagnosed, it ended up seeming that all I needed was a lumpectomy. So no major scar, no major surgery, something simple. I didn't have to tell anybody about it, and I was supposedly good to go. Unfortunately, we learned that the cancer had spread further than they thought, and they did not get clear margins. So they wanted to do another lumpectomy. At that point, I had finished nursing my son because I had to for the first surgery. And I decided when hearing the odds of recurrence at my age, I was only 38 years old at the time. There was no family history. So it was just one of those spontaneous types of breast cancers. The odds just kept increasing the older I would get as to it returning. So I had decided to go ahead and do a bilateral mastectomy, hoping that that would get rid of any of those concerns. And for me, at the time, it was recommended that I do reconstruction because I was still so young. So I said, okay, let's get this done, and did a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction. So first of all, good thing I did that, because the margins still were not clear. And I still had to have additional radiation to try to deal with the margins, because some of those cells had already started to convert to stage 1 cancer. Also, with the reconstruction that was being done at that time, we had it done under the chest wall muscle. So in addition to dealing with scars that were across both sides of my chest, and there was also a couple other scars because of drains, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. I then had to worry about pain of having reconstruction done under the chest wall muscle, because they were using these expanders and filling them, push the chest wall muscle out where it does not belong. And it had to do a lot of stretching and the things we do. They don't do it that way anymore, from my understanding. They now do it over the chest wall muscle for a much quicker healing process, but that was not the case for me. And the first 10 days were, I think, just a pure blank at this point for me. Like, I just remember hiding under the covers every day, just praying, because somebody had given me this number. They said, well, for the first 10 days, it was really bad, but after that, I start to feel better. So I hang on to that number and just said, okay, come day 10, I'll be fine. And sure enough, I actually was starting to do better come day 10, and could come out from under the covers and kind of ease off the pain meds. Although I was still having extreme pain in the middle of the night, to the point that my husband was begging me to go back on the pain meds, but I didn't like the way they made me feel. My head was fuzzy. It was just not fun. Holding my son was a huge challenge for me. And that was probably the most upsetting, between having to stop nursing him and not being able to hold him as an infant. I think that was really what put me over. But again, I'd stop, I'd take a look, and I'd realize he's here, I'm here. So eventually I'll be able to hold him again. I'll never be able to get back those early stages of his life, but I have so many years to make up for that. So that kept me going. And I would say, gosh, the surgery was in April. I'd say by June, I would start feeling better, but then they started filling the implants. And so every time we'd fill it up, it was like one step forward, 3 steps back, because that pain would just come again. And that went on for some time, until we got notice that I needed to have the radiation, and everything just had to stop wherever I was. That's all we could do. And then the radiation started, and that brought with it its own challenges. Fortunately, I was one of the lucky ones, I would have to say, because I could still go out and walk. People would ask me if I was tired. I was like, I'm a mom of 5. Like, what's tired? What's the difference between being a mom of 5 and I don't know. Like, sure.
What level of tired? I mean, zombie, right before coffee, take your pick.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, I get up and go, I function. That's all that I know right now. Probably about week 5 of radiation, because I had to do it every day for 7 weeks. So it was 35 days of radiation. By week 5, I'd say I start to feel that crispiness that people talk about. But I think just what I was using, or maybe because I had such great technicians, I don't know, but it really was not as bad as it could have been. And I've seen from other people. And between week 5 and week 6, I just gave it some extra TLC. By week 6, I was feeling okay again. And then I actually finished radiation on my birthday. So they hand you this certificate saying, congratulations, you finished all 35 rounds. And I'm like, and this is the best birthday present I could possibly have ever had. It was awesome. And then I just, continued on. Of course, there was more surgeries, swapping out the expanders, putting in the implants, but the doctor did a really good job about staying within those scars, the way he had placed them, knowing what he had to do going forward. The radiation did make it a little bit more challenging. My skin was pretty tight. So he just took every precaution that he could. But I walked away still with just those scars, nothing major other than those. But I will tell you, Chris, I felt like a slasher, like out of a slasher movie. I was terrified for my little girls who were probably 10, 8, 6, and 3 at the time. I never wanted them to walk in on me changing because I was so afraid of what them seeing me would do to them. Like how horrifying it would be for them to see what I actually looked like. And of course, I did not have nipples at the time because they couldn't spare them. And then finally, about 3 years later, I went to somebody out in Baltimore who is very well known for 3D tattooing, especially for medical purposes. I did go to him. I got these tattoos specifically because of my girls in mind. Like just in case I wanted to look as normal as possible for them. He actually did an awesome job. And I swear I said to him, you don't know what you're missing until you see it. And it was amazing. Like he did such an amazing job. And many people go to him because of his skill and his talent. But for me, it was life-changing because it actually meant that my girls can walk in on me and I would look pretty normal to them. So that was all back in 2011 when all this was happening. About 6.5 years later, I started to have these crazy spasms, which is something that I do want to make people who've been through what I've been through aware of. They're called breast mastectomy-induced intercostal neuralgia spasms that my doctors didn't know what they were at the time. I went to who did I go to? I went to my GP, asked her, she had no idea. I went to my plastic surgeon, he had no idea. I went to my breast surgeon. Nobody knew what was going on, what these pains were. And it was in search of answers to what this pain was, which I will tell you was excruciating. And at some points it would hit so bad that I'd be driving, I'd have to slam on my brakes. And it was so scary because I would have my kids in the car. And that's when I knew I had to get answers for it. So trying to figure that all out, went through this whole process where the doctor sent me for an MRI. The MRI was supposed to be with contrast. I get there, I had to wait an extra month because of the contrast part of it. For women, they want you to wait until you have your cycle. I get there, I go in expecting to have the contrast and non-contrast. They do it without the contrast and they tell me I'm done. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like I was supposed to have the contrast done. They're like, well, the doctor who reviewed your chart this morning decided to cancel that part because he felt that they didn't know about the structure of everything internally, whether it would withhold that kind of testing. I don't know. So they said to me, you know, if we don't see anything on this, we'll have you come back with contrast, which was a whole big pain. Then they called to say that they actually did see something on it and that it looked like my implants had ruptured. And so went back to my plastic surgeon and I told him, you know, I asked him, I said, is this what explains the pain that I'm feeling? He said, actually, no. He's like, I mean, they say it ruptures, so I have to go with what they're saying, but that does not explain the pain that you're feeling. And I said to him, okay, well, where do we go from here? He said, well, I have to go in, I have to do a surgery again, I have to remove these implants. Then fine, if you see any reason whatsoever that something in there in the implants is causing this pain, don't put the back in. Like, leave me flat. I am fine with that now. This is, 6.5 years later. I'm over it. Let's just move on with my health and get rid of this pain. And so I was looking for like things that are caused by implants. There's some kind of lymphoma that can be caused, ALA, BLA, ALA, something like that, where it's caused from implants, especially if they're textured implants, it can cause some kind of lymphoma. Or if there was any kind of mold in there, an infection, anything, like something to explain this pain. Well, he did the surgery and it was supposed to be this really long surgery. And I swear it must have been like a 30-minute surgery. And he comes back and he says to me, well, he's like, there was no rupture. The implants were perfectly intact. He swapped them out anyhow. He saw no reason for anything to be causing me the pain that I had been experiencing. So he put the implants back in, closed me up, but he did find like a big mass of scar tissue. He said it was like this big that he sent off to pathology that didn't look normal.
So that was about an inch in length?
Yeah, I would say so. So he sent that off, and meanwhile, we still had no answers for my pain, but this is what he saw. This is what, he said to me. I ended up finding out that had they gone ahead with the contrast, they would have actually gotten a better picture, wouldn't have seen what they thought was ruptures, and actually would have seen what that scar tissue was hiding, which turned out to be IDC, invasive ductal carcinoma. So stage 1 cancer now.
Oh, wow. So your third bout of cancer.
Second bout of cancer.
Second bout. Okay. I'm sorry.
Second bout of cancer, but it was just the whole process.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a second bout, many surgeries later, still trying to find answers for the pain. And so at that point, it was decided there was nothing more they can do. They had to remove the implants, plus they had to remove even more because of the location of the tissue that was affected. So after going through 6 rounds of chemo, 3 which were TCHP, which is
And what is that? I'm sorry.
It's Taxotere, carboplatin, Herceptin, and Perjeta. So Taxotere and the carboplatin are 2 of the chemos to directly attack the cancer cells. The Herceptin and the Perjeta are, I'm going to blank on the words right now, but it's just another way to go after the HER2 cells that I have. Okay. Because I had triple positive breast cancer. So ER positive, estrogen positive, progesterone positive, otherwise known as PR positive, and then HER2 positive. And so those are a form of immunotherapy, something that goes after the HER2 cells, which are different from the estrogen and progesterone positive receptors. So I did 3 rounds of that, of course. GI issues are something that always plagues me, and the Taxotere was killing my GI system. I was really sick. I lost 18 pounds in a month or so. There would be like a 3-week cycle. By week 2, this might be TMI, but I basically couldn't leave the bathroom. Like, I was so sick. So the doctor decided that this was actually causing me more harm than good, especially because we were seeing my numbers for my liver and my white cells were all tanking, that she pulled me off that and she switched me on to just Taxol and Herceptin. So that combination. And that actually was much better. I had to go weekly, I think, for the next 3 cycles. And my last big chemo date was actually July 8th. And then I continued with the Herceptin itself that went after the HER2 cells all the way through to my surgery, which was September of 2019. And that's when they did the big procedure to remove everything. And so now I have even bigger scars, and I'm completely indented on the right side where the cancer was. So it's just a big, ugly mess. There's no way to make this look presentable. And I don't have any boobs. People call them the fake boob. I don't do any of that. So I am considered to be part of the flat and fabulous world right now.
I love that phrase, because as I say, we have to pass imperfection, go for greatness. And, when you can't have that perfection, you can either dwell on your imperfection or focus on what you can do. And I love that you have that, flat and fabulous outlook, because the other choice is going to lead you to negativity. And who else knows what it can lead behind that, or who could be behind that. So I love that. And
I have to say, having 4 girls, you worry about what they are going to think about it, just watching their mom enter this world, and is something that they don't see. Again, I'm still very cautious about covering up because I don't want to impact them. Although now that they're older, they could probably see it and would be totally fine with it. But they were so amazing at helping me accept who I was, because they get it. Like, it's not that important to have these breasts because I'm alive and I'm doing well. And I'm setting such a good example for everyone around me how to thrive, that they really helped me see that, the scars are one thing, the breasts are another, but the fact that I'm alive and I get to celebrate birthdays with them is the most important thing. And I mean, my son is my son, so he doesn't know any different.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic that they have that outlook. And, to be a bit crass, you can say, well, their boobs don't give them hugs. Your boobs don't give them hugs, and so, yes, you're imperfect, but that's not what's important.
Exactly.
From my experience, yes, I'm missing 1/4 of my natural skin, and I call myself a discount Deadpool, if you're familiar with the character, yes. Or a zombie in training, for those who are more of a Walking Dead fan. But that doesn't affect how I parent or how I treat other people. And so, no, that's wonderful that your daughters and your son have that outlook about your situation.
Oh yeah, and definitely credit to my husband as well, who never blinked twice. Like it never impacted him. So I'm so lucky to have that support around me. I do see a lot of other women who are missing their breasts because they feel like it was who they were. And to me, they serve their purpose. You know what? I was able to nurse 5 children. I was able to do what they were meant to do. And I'm okay with that. And then some people say my breast tried to kill me. So that's kind of what happened. And I got rid of what was trying to kill me so that I can survive and live and thrive. And that's where I am right now. It's not pretty. I've seen people do wonderful tattoos across their chests. That I've heard that there's a lot of tattoo artists who actually do free breast mastectomy, post-breast mastectomy tattoos, and they do amazing work. It's beautiful. I don't know that I can ever have that done because I am still so tight. That skin was already thin to begin with, but to go through it even more and more tightening that they had to do, I'm still always going to be in pain on the one side. But, you know, hats off to those that can get it done because then they can show it with pride. There are other women who are flat and fabulous and don't hide it at all, even without the tattoos. They show their scars. We all say that our scars make us who we are. It's what gives me strength. It's what gives me the ability to walk around knowing what I've come from, what I came through, and where I am today, and helps me be that role model for others around me.
Again, that's fantastic that you have that mindset, Jodie, because as you said, some people really struggle with that identity of not having that part of their body, but the ability that you're able not only to be proud of how you survived, but you want to help other people out is very commendable. And I want to talk next about that because that is partially why you're here, is to share your message about health and wellness. So please tell us, how did you start becoming a coach?
After my first diagnosis, I started to do some research to try to figure out how someone like me can get breast cancer when I have no history of it in my family. And I just started digging deeper and deeper and really seeing how food can really have a big impact on your body's wellness. I had always had, like I said, GI issues. That was my Achilles heel. And I started to understand the impact of food and food sensitivities and food inflammation and how it can weaken your immune system and lead to the development of chronic illnesses, not always cancer, but for me, it is cancer. That's just how my body responds. For other people, it could be simple as, skin conditions like eczema and hives. For other people, it can lead to IBD or Crohn's, like more serious illnesses. It can lead to diabetes. There's so many different impacts that food has on the body that I was not aware of. And my background is that I am a licensed attorney, and I focused on health and wellness there as a medical malpractice coach. And still, I had no idea. Like, I just really never understood the impact that food had. And I always thought I was eating well as a vegetarian. I was also a runner. I had nursed 4 children at that point. And in the literature, it says that if you nurse children, the less likely you are to get breast cancer. If you exercise, less likely you are to get breast cancer. If you eat well, I didn't understand what eating well actually meant. You're less likely to get breast cancer. So all these things that I thought I was doing right for myself turned out not to be enough, apparently. So it was that research that led me to understand that I was missing a big key piece of information on health. And if I was missing it with all the education that I've had, how many other people are missing it who don't focus on that type of education or who don't have access to that type of education? And it just made me really have my aha moment and realize that what I was meant to do was to educate, which I love to do, but more importantly, coach people to listen to their body, advocate for their body, but really understand that message that their body is trying to tell them. If something is not feeling right, then that should be a sign to follow up. Is it a food that I'm eating? It doesn't have to be junk food, right? It could be something healthy. I can't eat bananas. I never knew it. I would get stomach issues from bananas, but I never knew that that was like a food sensitivity and that can cause chronic issues.
Wow.
Now I know. So it could be health foods, it could be junk foods, it could be anywhere in between on the spectrum of foods that can be challenging your immune system. And then as I kept going, I kept learning more about what's in the environment around us that can be impacting us and what we can do to protect ourselves, how sleep matters. And then, unfortunately, in between my two diagnoses, my sister was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer in, I want to say 2017. And through that year that I had with her, trying to support her, trying to help her with her own chemo, trying to be there for her, but also worry about her, worry about her kids, worry about my own kids. I ended up having a lot of stress, more stress than you would normally have with 5 kids and trying to work. She ended up passing away. Unfortunately, we're coming up on her, thank you. It's almost her 4-year anniversary of her passing. And it was shortly after that I ended up being diagnosed again. So that was another moment for me to stop and think about, well, I have my food dialed in now. I have my exercise dialed in. I'm getting the sleep as best I can. What else is missing? And it's when I went back and looked at how stress impacts the body. And I took a Holistic Cancer Certification coaching program to really find out more about that and understand more about how stress impacts the body. So now I've got the understanding of the 4 important pillars in your life and how they can impact you. And I just want to help other people really understand that and be able to help themselves to work on healing themselves from the inside out.
Would you mind please sharing those 4 pillars? Because I think our viewers and listeners would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, simply, it really is. The 4 pillars are the foods you eat, the amount of sleep you get and quality sleep that you get, the how you manage your stress, and the movement that you get, different forms of exercise. And again, finding the right exercise for your body. Too much can also cause damage. So I was training for marathons on either end of my sister's diagnoses, and that was causing a lot of inflammation on my body. It was not the right form of exercise for me. I now know that. And, I still love to run, but I do 4 to 6 miles. I won't do a marathon again. Okay. So it's those 4 pillars: food, exercise, sleep, and stress management are the 4 major impactors on your body. And then, of course, is the environment around you. You can't change necessarily the environment around you. You can try, but it's challenging. Removing certain products from your household really helps. But using foods and using stress management tools and using sleep and movement can help to reduce the inflammation in your body so that you can better support your immune system. And that's the ultimate goal, to keeping you healthy and fighting chronic conditions.
Yep. I love how you phrase those pillars as tools, because a lot of people think of food as just things that we eat to keep me energized so I can, get through the day, or sleep as something I need to do to get, so I don't, so I can stay healthy, but not necessarily as tools, as if you're body was a machine. And it is a machine. It's one of the most complex machines known to man, but it's still a machine. And treating those pillars as tools for that machine, is a great mindset to use for that. And so thank you for sharing that. Where can people find, I guess, first of all, I want to ask, what do you have looking forward into the near future? What are you working on?
Professionally or personally?
Both.
So I'm actually currently working as a digital health coach for a company that helps employers offer health coaching to their employees. And I think that's such a great way, because that way we get access to people who wouldn't normally either think about getting a health coach or can't necessarily afford a health coach. So that's something that I'm currently doing, while I'm also growing my own private business, where in that business, I get to explore more things like autoimmune diseases, of course, helping with cancer diagnoses, how to find yourself through it, how to support yourself through it, how to support yourself afterwards. and just overall general health for a lot of people coming through this pandemic, trying to help them regroup and help their immune systems. I focus a lot on food sensitivities for my private business, where I help people discover if they have any food sensitivities, 2 different ways, whether they're journaling or whether they're testing. That's something that I help a lot of people look into if they just don't have any other answers for the symptoms that they're experiencing. So for that, my business is called JKL Well, WELL, Health Coaching. And people can find me at jklwellhealthcoaching.com. I'm also visible on social media. For Facebook, it's just JKL Well. For Instagram is JKL Well _health_coaching. I don't do a whole lot of posting right now because I'm busy with the other business that I'm working as a digital coach for, but I'm always available to answer questions that people have, doing discovery calls if they're interested in learning more about what I can offer them, and answering any emails or texts that people send my way, just if they have more questions for me.
That's fantastic. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, no worries. Just personally, okay. I'm just focusing on raising my 5 kids, and I have 2 in college. One's about to be a senior in high school. One is about to be a freshman in high school, and one's still in elementary school. So just watching them grow and develop after everything we've been through as a family is just pure joy for me. And that offers me a lot of personal growth as well.
That is fantastic. And so I commend you for not only the professional success that you have received and continue to receive. And thank you for sharing those links. And we'll make sure we share those in the show notes as well for people to contact you. But, I have blessings on your family for, keeping strong through that continued storm, as you continue through a physical storm as we speak. So I have a couple of questions to ask you, Jodie. First of all, as you mentioned before, I am a gratitude guy. And so I like to ask people, what is something that at the time you maybe have considered a burden or being troublesome that you are now thankful for?
To be honest, having breast cancer, because, they always tell you to look for the silver lining and everything. And a lot of people think, yeah, right. But it really opens my eyes to all of this health and wellness journey that I'm now on. And it helps me help my own family to hopefully get better so they don't have to walk my path. And it has helped me help so many other people. Even if people don't come to me as a coach, but they've been diagnosed with cancer, they come to me asking me for advice, asking me for support, or just a shoulder to lean on. And I love that opportunity to be there for other people.
That's a fantastic answer. And, some people actually do say the thing that try to kill me is what I'm thankful for. But I love how you just stated that. So thank you for sharing that. And then my final question, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Yeah, I forgot to ask my son. My son actually creates things he calls malevolents, and they're creatures that are dinosaur based. So not real, but I'm going to go with whatever malevolence he's creating right now.
Awesome. Do you have one maybe you could share on screen? You want to
Oh gosh. He has a whole book full of them, and I would have to go get him and have him bring one out. But I can also take a picture and send that to you if that's helpful.
That would be great. And maybe what you could do is when you send me the headshot for the thumbnail, you can hold up the picture underneath your face and share that. That'd be fun to see.
Sure, absolutely. He would be so proud. They're not colored in yet, but he comes up every day with these creatures that I think he would like to eventually put into a game design, but they all have so much background information on them. And it really comes from the world of dinosaurs that he knows so much about. And he takes different features of all of them and puts them into these creatures and has this whole background story. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Jodie, it's been an honor and a privilege to talk with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me.
Thank you so much for having me here. And if I can just leave your viewers with 2 things.
Definitely.
1, be your own health advocate. If you know something's going on with your body, definitely follow up, find the right doctor who's willing to listen to you. I think that is the most important thing in saving our health. And two, for those who are going through breast mastectomies, if they start feeling the pains that I was feeling, I finally have an answer to it, being that breast mastectomy induced intercostal neuralgia. And it's basically a tightening, squeezing, cramping sometimes, misfiring of nerves. And I just want people to be aware that there is an answer for what they're experiencing. So then when they go to a doctor and they need help for it, this is what it's called. The doctors can research it and find a way to help them, because it was really crippling for me for a very long time. So I don't want that to be the case for others.
Thank you for sharing that, Jodie. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so folks, if you want to reach out to Jodie, please look in the show notes. I believe it's JKL Well. You can find her on a lot of the social media sites. But again, that should be in the show notes. If you want to reach out to me so we can start a conversation about increasing your gratitude, positivity, and resilience, please go to chrisdtgordon.com. And in the meantime, please like and share this and other episodes so we can spread inspiration, hope, and motivation for people to live their best lives and overcome those challenges that life throws at us. So with that, thank you so much for being here with me. Please have a great day. And remember to pass at perfection and go for greatness.